My friends, what if the collapse you're experiencing right now is not a curse, but a calling? What if the relationship that ended, the job that slipped away, the friendships that faded, the identity that shattered, are not signs that your life is breaking, but proof that your old life can no longer contain who you are becoming? Pause, because what you are about to hear may completely change the way you interpret pain. And if this message finds you at 2 a.m., when the silence feels heavier than the noise, when your mind is asking, why is everything falling apart? Stay with me, because this may be the moment you realize nothing is falling apart. It is falling into place. If you resonate with deep spiritual truth, if you are on a path of awakening, if you want content that expands your consciousness and strengthens your inner divine connection, subscribe to Inner Divine now. Comment below, I trust the process. And share this video with someone who needs this message today. Now, let us begin. There is a spiritual law that few understand, and yet it governs every awakening. Before expansion, there is contraction. Before elevation, there is dismantling. Before rebirth, there is collapse. Often spoke about divine orchestration, the unseen intelligence guiding every soul toward its highest evolution. He taught that suffering is not random. It is not punishment. It is refinement. When life begins to crumble, the ego panics, but the soul recognizes initiation. You see, most people build their lives on borrowed identities. Careers chosen for approval. Relationships chosen for comfort. Beliefs adopted from culture. Dreams inherited from family. And for a while, it works. Until it doesn't. Until something inside you begins to whisper, this is not who you are anymore. And when you ignore that whisper, life begins to shake you. Not to destroy you, but to wake you. In Western culture, whether in the fast cities of New York, London, Toronto, or Sydney, we are taught to measure success by stability. Stable income. Stable relationship. Stable identity. But spiritual growth is rarely stable. It is volcanic. It erupts. It dismantles. It demands transformation. And when your life starts falling apart, what is really happening is this. The version of you that was built for survival is being replaced by the version of you designed for purpose. That process is uncomfortable because survival feels safe. Purpose feels uncertain. But there is a deeper intelligence operating beneath the chaos. When a tree outgrows its pot, the pot must break. When a soul outgrows its environment, the environment must shift. You cannot evolve and remain the same. Think about this carefully. Every major breakthrough in your life was preceded by disruption. The breakup that led you to self-respect. The failure that forced you to innovate. The loneliness that introduced you to your inner world. But when you are inside the collapse, it doesn't feel like preparation. It feels like loss. And loss activates fear. The ego says, you are behind. You failed. You are losing everything. But the soul whispers, you are shedding. You are recalibrating. You are being redirected. Explained that divine timing rarely aligns with human comfort. What feels like delay is often protection. What feels like rejection is often redirection. You are not being punished. You are being repositioned. Here is a truth most people avoid. If your life didn't fall apart at certain moments, you would have stayed small. You would have tolerated less than your potential. You would have remained in spaces that suffocated your spirit. Collapse is often divine compassion in disguise. Because sometimes, the only way to move you forward is to remove what is holding you back. Let us go deeper. When everything falls apart, three things are happening simultaneously. Your attachments are being tested. Your identity is being stripped. Your awareness is expanding. Attachment creates illusion. We attach to roles, titles, people, outcomes. But attachment is not the same as alignment. You can be deeply attached to something that is no longer aligned with your growth. And when misalignment persists, life intervenes. Not cruelly, but precisely. Imagine if your entire external world collapsed overnight. Who would you be without your job title? Without your partner? Without social validation? That question terrifies the ego, but liberates the soul. Because beneath all roles, there is you. unconditioned, unfiltered, unbreakable. And collapse introduces you to that version. This is why many people who experience massive life breakdowns later describe them as spiritual awakenings. Not because the pain was enjoyable, but because it was clarifying. When everything external shakes, you are forced inward. And inward is where power lives. Inward is where intuition sharpens. Inward is where purpose reveals itself. The Western mind often seeks external solutions to internal shifts. But the truth is this: no external stability can replace inner alignment. If your career crumbles, perhaps your calling is changing. If your relationship ends, perhaps your self-worth is evolving. If your plans fail, perhaps your destiny is recalibrating. You are not losing your life. You are losing what no longer fits. Consider the metaphor of renovation. Before a building is redesigned, walls are torn down. Dust fills the air. Noise disrupts peace. It looks chaotic, but the architect sees the blueprint. Your soul has a blueprint. And sometimes the divine architect must dismantle outdated structures to build something stronger. Taught that trials are opportunities for soul expansion. He emphasized inner communion, meditation, reflection, stillness as tools to navigate upheaval. When life falls apart, do not rush to rebuild immediately. Pause. Observe. Ask, what is this teaching me? What part of me is evolving? What am I being prepared for? Because collapse without reflection becomes trauma. But collapse with awareness becomes transformation. Now let us address something practical. When you are in the middle of breakdown, here are 3 spiritual principles to hold on to. First, do not personalize the process. Everything is not happening to you. It is happening for your expansion. This shift in perception reduces suffering instantly. Second, strengthen your inner foundation. Meditate daily. Journal honestly. Detach from constant distraction. When the outer world is unstable, inner discipline becomes your anchor. Third, trust delayed clarity. You may not understand today, but months from now, you will look back and say, if that hadn't fallen apart, I would never have become who I am now. Let me speak directly to you. If you are watching this and your life feels uncertain, if relationships are shifting, if finances are unstable, if your sense of identity feels blurred, you are not broken. You are in transition. And transitions are sacred. The caterpillar thinks the cocoon is the end. But it is the beginning. Your discomfort is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of metamorphosis. And metamorphosis is rarely comfortable, but it is always purposeful. There is a maturity that only collapse can teach. Humility, resilience, discernment, spiritual depth. When everything is stable, it is easy to believe you are in control. When everything dissolves, you realize something greater is guiding you. That realization is awakening. And awakening changes everything. You stop chasing validation. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop clinging to timelines. You begin listening. You begin trusting. You begin aligning. And slowly, what fell apart begins reorganizing in a more authentic way. Not identical to the past, but aligned with your evolution. The greatest mistake you can make during collapse is rushing back to familiarity. Do not rebuild the same structure that just collapsed. Upgrade it. If the relationship ended, elevate your standards. If the career failed, refine your purpose. If the identity dissolved, meet your true self. You are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to transcend them. Remember, the universe does not remove something without reason. It removes to replace. It empties to refill. It dismantles to upgrade. Trust the intelligence behind your transition. Even when you cannot see the outcome. Even when it feels unfair. Even when it feels lonely. Especially then. Because that is when your spiritual muscles strengthen. That is when your faith deepens. That is when your higher self emerges. One day, you will look back at this period. And instead of saying, that's when my life fell apart, you will say, that's when my real life began. So breathe. Release panic. Embrace transition. And remember, you are not collapsing. You are ascending. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to Inner Divine. Comment below, I am becoming.